Why do they say Israel's like starving the people of Gaza?
Why do you think you're like so hated worldwide?
Well,
There's still a lot of gray area, like with your average American, on what actually happened on October 7th, how it happened, why the response took so long.
The Nelk boys interviewed evil war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli prime minister. At least that's what people on Twitter are saying. People are freaking out over this interview right now of Benjamin Netanyahu on the Nelk Boys podcast. They did challenge him a little bit, so I wanted to show you those clips of the main clips of the podcast, and here it goes.
Why do they say Israel's like starving the people of Gaza?
well, because we're trying to get the food in, and we let food trucks in, and guess what happens when we let them in? Hamas steals the food, takes the good chunk for itself, then sells at inflated prices. They jack up the prices, and then they sell the food to its population, to its hungry population, if they give them at all, and then use the money that they take from their own people to recruit more killers into their terror machine. That's what happens.
Why are more Palestinians not siding with Israel against Hamas then?
Well, up to now, they've been terrorized, but guess what's happened? Since we're beating Hamas, all of a sudden we see Palestinians rising. You have to see this to believe this, okay? And they say to Hamas, hey, you're not coming into my building. You know, you can't use my school or this hospital as your command post. We're not letting you. And they start fighting them. Now we have actually armed conflict between Palestinians and terrorists. It was unimaginable a year and a half ago. But now there are Palestinians who rise up. And, you know, the more the better, because we can create a different future for Gaza. And we should also do something very simple that President Trump said, and it was brilliant. So that's my idea. That's how he cuts to the chase. He says, you know, at the end of this war, the people of Gaza should have the choice. If they want to leave for other countries, they want a freedom of choice. Why are they locked in? Hell, we're not locking them in. Anybody could leave, but Hamas is locking them in. Suppose they want to leave. They want to go to another country, okay? Why shouldn't they have the freedom of choice to do that? Because this is all upside down, you know? The victim of this horrible terrorism is called the aggressor. The people who are oppressed by Hamas are seen as supporting Hamas. Give them a choice. Give them freedom. Give them a life and give them a future. They can't have that with these Hamas stormtroopers. But the amazing thing is, you know, I come here and I see these protests. The people who are protesting for Hamas and against Israel, they burn American flags. They not only burn the flag of Israel, they burn American flags. They're anti-American. They're not MAGA. They're not supporters. You know, who do they support? You know who they support? They support Iran and its proxy, Hamas or Hezbollah. What does Iran do? Just understand, people who support Iran or speak on its behalf. Iran tried to assassinate President Trump, not once, but twice.
They were behind those assassination attempts?
They openly admit. By the way, they put out a price on his head, on mine too, by the way, smaller price. I'm not offended.
They actually put a price on your head?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
Do you know what it is?
You know,
Yeah, it's smaller than his, naturally. He's the president of the United States, for God's sake, okay? So they put out a fatwa 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, by the official cleric of the Iranian regime that President Trump has to be assassinated and that I have to be assassinated. And by the way, they targeted, Sarah, my wife was here, and they targeted our bedroom window. Yeah, we were supposed to be there. They hit through their proxy Hezbollah. They fired a drone right into our bedroom window. So
Just recently?
Oh, yeah. No, it was a couple of months ago. Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was a year ago, actually. Yeah, a year ago. Okay. So how many months?
7 months.
7 months ago. She counts, you know. So they tried to assassinate President Trump twice. They've killed and injured thousands of Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan. They bombed American embassies. They murdered 241 Marines in Beirut. They chant death to America, death to Israel. They're they're out to get America. They're building they were building atomic bombs and intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's their plan to reach America. So do you want these mad ayatollahs to have that power? Of course not. So they're anti-American, they're anti-Israel. And the guys who protest, and many of them are paid and organized by foreign NGOs, bad people. They're out against America. They hate Israel because they see Israel as part of America. And in many ways, they're right.
I'm just trying to figure it out too, because even in New York City, right? What's Zoran?
Yeah.
He's an anti-Semitic guy.
Yeah.
The highest, I think the highest population of Jews in New York City. How's that even possible?
Well, it's possible because a lot of people have been taken in by this nonsense. I mean, what? You want to defund the police? You want to have people go into stores and, rob them and be free? You think that really creates a good society? You want to crush all enterprise? You want to tax people to death? I mean, that's a one-term effort. But, sometimes you have to get mugged by reality to understand how stupid that is. So that's silly. But, sometimes folly overtakes human affairs for a while, but not for long because reality steps in. So
I just want to it's so funny, honestly, that he's being interviewed by the Nelk boys in 2025. Who would think that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would be in America being interviewed by a couple of, guys that know absolutely nothing about politics? And kudos to them. Listen, I have lost a lot of respect for them because they apologized and did a whole, we'll have Nick Fuentes on. We don't care. We're sorry. We're so sorry for interviewing this guy. But, you have to give some creds to them to interview him to begin with. And then they asked him, why is he so hated? A little bit of a weird question to ask somebody, but they asked him, why is he so hated worldwide? And here is his response. Hold on.
I think you definitely have a tough job, but why do you think you're so hated worldwide?
Well, a lot of propaganda. The Chancellor of Germany said Israel did the work for all of us, the new Chancellor of Germany, okay? Because those Iranian missiles were geared at Europe too, and ultimately at America. The question you have to ask is not why do they hate me or President Trump, is why don't they see reality? Why don't they see what's good for them? And the answer is most of them do if you tell them the facts. But how do you tell them the facts over TikTok?
I don't think it's the Iran thing. The main thing I just see is if I don't think people like if civilians are getting injured or killed.
We don't want it either.
Another thing to note is look at them. Look at what they're wearing. They're wearing suits for probably the first time in their lives. Okay, so after this, the internet freaked out. The internet lost their minds, and I'm just gonna pull up. There's a little bit of just a few videos that they did post this interview, in which they basically apologized. Oh, I'm so sorry for interviewing him. Hold on.
But now we're gonna guys,
Give the other side an opportunity.
we're gonna give the other side the opportunity, and I feel like
We're gonna give the other side the opportunity to speak in the next episode.
that's just the way we roll, bro. And I think that we're someone has to do it, and if we have to take the fall and be the bad guys for having the controversial people on, I think we're willing to do it.
All right.
On the Full Send podcast, what we do and what our style is we will have
They look like they're at a funeral. All right, so they give a whole explanation, and they had Nick Fuentes join the stream and talk about how you have to have me on the next podcast, and you had Hassan Piker talk about, you have to have me on. Whatever. I think it's funny. I think that Netanyahu should do more interviews. I do think it could have been a better interview, if I'm being honest. I think they could have been much more. I would have liked for him to get pressed on a few issues, because I think he's a great speaker and I think he can answer those questions well. And I think if they would have pressed him, it would have looked much more real, and would have, I think, actually, they wouldn't have gotten as much hate. They wouldn't have had to come out with this whole apology tour, and everybody would have been better off. But they didn't press him, probably because they don't know much, which is also a little bit of a weird thing where you don't know anything about something. You're interviewing somebody, whatever. Point is, props to them. They have the balls to interview a guy like Benjamin Netanyahu, who right now, like they said, is very hated worldwide. Or maybe not as much as the media wants you to believe. To support the channel, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Jewish Uncensored. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.